raise your hand icon, or if you're joining by phone, press *9 on your keypad. When you are recognized, please state your name for the record.
Not seeing anyone.
Okay. I also have a statement concerning remote participation in response to Governor Baker's executive orders concerning the necessity to conduct public meetings in line with social distancing guidelines during the current state of emergency involving the COVID-19 pandemic. All Port Council members are participating remotely in today's meeting because their physical attendances today would be unreasonably difficult. All Port Council members are participating in the meeting by the Zoom video conferencing app, and all members will be clearly audible to each other. As a result of the members' remote participation in today's meeting, any and all votes taken by the members today shall be by roll call vote. And with
I'm bringing over Rob. Are you there? Me there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I found you on the attendees side, so you're live now to talk.
All right, thank you for finding me.
I don't know what phone number he's calling from. Oh, there's Mark Gracie.
Hey, Mark.
Mark Reese, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, great. We've got everybody.
We got everyone now.
Everybody.
Yep.
Okay, great.
all right.
Okay.
Okay.
So the first, wait, hold on. I gotta go. All this technology that Nat ordered up is just messing with my flow.
Thanks, Nat.
The first item on the agenda are the minutes from last month's meeting from April 1st.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
One issue on the minutes.
Okay.
If Sean could just change my middle initial to W from C on the signature.
Oh, will do, Eric. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
All right. So a motion to approve with the edits. I guess we could just.
I'll make that motion.
All right. George, you still on the second? All right.
Yeah, I made the second. Mm-hmm.
All right. All in favor? Start with in rough alphabetical order.
Falco, aye.
Huss, aye.
Lowell, aye.
Munir, aye.
Shufelt, aye.
Reese abstain.
And Ed Washburn, aye. I'll choose the W on that one. All right. Management report. Bob?
Good morning, everyone. So a little update as to where we're at business-wise in terms of the traffic and what's going on with our COVID response. So our April traffic numbers are in. Passengers, we carried about 16% of what we would normally expect to be carrying for the month of April. About 160,000 passenger decrease, 125,000 on the Vineyard route, and 35,000 on the Nantucket. Automobiles are about 23% of what we would expect. That accounts for 25,000, a decrease of 25,000 vehicles, automobiles. 22,000 of them are on the Vineyard route and 3,000 on the Nantucket. And then our trucks are about 40% of what we would expect. That equates to a 10,000 unit decrease. 7,000 of it is on the Vineyard route and 3,000 on the Nantucket. When you take all those numbers and you factor in what an average revenue for those would be, we're looking at about a $5 million hit to revenues. Once you start factoring in other services such as the driver services, concession fees, things like that, we should, I would expect that that number will, when we're all said and done with the month of April, that will be north of $5 million decrease versus what our revenue projections have been. So I think those revenue projections for the month were around $8 million in revenue. So on the bright side, bookings remain halfway decent shape here for the summer. We're seeing an uptick here the last couple weeks of the near-term reservations, and whether that's related to the weather getting a little better, whether it's related to the lifting of the construction bans. We're seeing near-term reservations being made month of April. Well, it was the month of April and then into May. Our June numbers were about 2/3 of what we would expect to be at this point. In terms of July and August, we're roughly about 90% of where we would expect to be. So those are the big numbers in terms of vehicles. We have seen some cancellations, but they've been offset by new reservations. So right now, it's still hard to read what the market's going to be doing, what's going to be happening here. So the approach that we've been taking, as you're well aware, is to roll out incremental changes to the schedule. And in that regard, the schedules that we had out there until May 14th, we're looking at it. We're going to be extending those to May 20th with some modifications. So on the Nantucket route, where we anticipate that the third trip of the Gayhead will be necessary more often than not. Right now, it's basically only running the 2 trips a day. They can run a third if needed. We're also seeing that for this coming weekend, as of yesterday, we did have enough freight shippers that we're looking for to get over to the islands that will be running a trip in the morning on Saturday to get for Nantucket. And then on the Vineyard side, we had the bookings were pretty close to being all sold out on the service that we were providing. So this past weekend, we did bring in a crew to run the Martha's Vineyard on Saturday and then again on Sunday. And going forward here, starting on Thursday, we're changed that over to a double crew instead of a single crew. So that allows them to run 7 days a week, up to 4 trips a day. Right now, it's Monday through Friday, up to 4 trips a day. So we get the extra couple days by having that crew. And we'll be keeping an eye on that. And I think the next step there would be to turn that into a triple crew, which would mean we would get 7 trips out of the boat. But right now, it's I think the double crew will be sufficient for the next week or two. Our crews continue to do a great job in terms of cleaning, staying up on things. The wellness checks that we've been doing, have been accepted by, without question. They're accepted by our employees, and we have vendors coming in. We have them do the same thing down at our Fairhaven facility, for instance. So the one thing there in regards to the Fairhaven is that making sure that we stay ahead of this. We had stopped repairs in Fairhaven for a period of time because we were trying to preserve our capital at the time. But with the uptick in ridership and the coming summer, we did restart those repair efforts. So the motor vessel island home, I think they were completing the work on the davit that was replaced during its dry dock period, and that was going to be tested, I believe, this week. And then we'll have the repairs to the generator, the overhaul of the generator on that vessel done, and we're targeting the 15th of this month for company sea trials, followed by Coast Guard sea trials on the 18th. So that way that vessel would be available if we want to put into service starting on the schedule on the 21st. The Nantucket, Mark can update me here, but last I saw, the Nantucket was still in the dry dock. They had some delays because of the weather for some of the painting, but Mark will have an update later on this. I think I don't know whether the bow and stern doors have been attached yet or not. So the INO is all set to go. It's has its COI. Looking at the reservation numbers for Memorial Day weekend, we have a total of 100, as of mid-afternoon yesterday, we had a total of 150 reservations made for Memorial Day weekend, the 5 days, Thursday through Monday, and 140 coming off the island. There was one trip that was over 50. It was 68 people had booked for the 12:30 trip leaving the island on Monday, the Memorial Day. So at this point, we would have had a sold out boat. So we'll have to continue to monitor that to see what's happening, whether we're going to want to put that boat into service. Roughly we need to break even, it's about 45 passengers per trip on average that we need to cover our operating costs. We'd have to, bring back crews that have been furloughed at this point. So we'll make that decision, as we get a little closer as to what we're going to do, what we recommend on the INO service. So.
Bob, just recognizing that everything is certainly been minute to minute over the last 2 months. So the April numbers that you just, and I know they're preliminary, where does that square with where we stood on April 1st the last time this body met? Are we looking at about what we thought it would be, or a little bit better? I think.
Yeah. I think traffic-wise, the numbers are about in line with what we expected. In terms of, we're looking at this from a number of different angles. The traffic, we're looking at the overall bottom line, but we're also looking at the cash perspective. And from a cash perspective, we ended up, starting the month of April, about $11.5 million roughly in cash on hand. We had anticipated that at the end of the month, we'd probably be somewhere around 6.5. We ended up around 7.5. So we did get some additional receipts in, and part of that was one-time receipts. We had, for some of the security programs that we had. Our Director of Security, Larry Ferrer, who is going to be retiring within the next month or two here. He was able to submit for the reimbursement on those grants and get those taken care of. And so it was a little infusion of some reimbursements from that. And also there was an issue with the U.S. Mail contract that had to be squared away, and Mark and his team got that taken care of. So I think by and large that addressed the uptick in some revenues over what we normally would have been receiving during the month. But for the time being, and I don't want to jinx it, but the freight shippers have been on top of getting us paid and things like that, because that's really the only significant source of revenue at this point is the freight shippers. So.
The ones we always complain about.
Yeah. So I think overall, in terms of the cash, going back to the middle of April, when we were looking at our cash flow and seeing what was happening and how quickly it was leaving and not being replenished, our target had been that on or about the end of May that our cash reserves were going to be depleted Right now, I think we're probably looking at, without the infusion of the CARES Act money and the other monies from the NTD, it probably was going to be more like the 10th of the month. So hopefully we can get those squared away and get those monies in. I think they're just waiting on one of the unions has to sign off that they have no objection to it. So it got forwarded to their national office down in Washington. So we're hopeful that that will be taken care of today. So and then we can get that other monies in, and that'll be helpful. For those of you who we didn't get a notice out as to what took place at yesterday's board meeting, but the board did approve having a line of credit established. So we, Mark worked with, well, originally it was Cape Cod 5. Martha's Vineyard Savings Bank came to us afterwards. They asked why we didn't come to them originally, and we explained to them that we didn't want to be looked at as, taking money away from an island bank that they may be needing for the businesses on the island, but they assured us that they're well capitalized and they were all set. So it worked out that the board approved the line of credit with them. So we don't intend on tapping that until we absolutely need to, but we'll need to keep an eye on them when the CARES Act money comes in.
Hey, Bob, this is Rob. How much was that? The line of credit?
The line of credit was $10 million.
Thank you.
They came back. Their terms, Mark can correct me if I misspeak here, but their terms were that the cleanup period is a 30-day period every 18 months, and the interest rate that they're charging was slightly lower than the revised amount that Cape Cod 5 was offering. So.
Okay.
Bob, I think it would be helpful for, as, like I said before, everything changes every minute as we look at this. So just having some understanding where reservations are at various levels out. It doesn't have to be, and I don't want it to be extra staff time focused on this, but as you guys are looking at the data come in, I think it would be helpful to get some of that your daily updates are telling us a little bit about the ridership, but also looking at some of the how reservations are holding up further in the summer. I think having a little bit more of that information might be helpful just to keep our eye on things.
Yeah.
So didn't Mark put out a chart of that a little while ago?
So what I can do is Mark forwards me copies of that, so I'll include it in the, as he updates it. It's not done every day. It's once a week. So I'll make sure that that's included in my daily COVID updates. So that way you have it.
You want that from yesterday?
I don't know whether Sean's going to share his screen and show you what it looked like. So
They can't see it yet.
it's coming.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay, so this was as of Monday, first thing Monday morning, I think.
Rob's on the phone, so you'll have to paint a picture.
Okay, so yeah, sorry, Rob. So again, it shows that we had about a year ago for May, we had about 46,000 reservation segments. So a round trip would counts as 2 in that. This year, we're just over 21,000. For June, we're a little over 32,000 a year ago. Right now, we're just under 22. But then you get into July was 44,000 versus 37,000. August is 47,000 versus 40,000. And then in the fall, the numbers are pretty close to each other, 14,600 versus 14, and then 4,500 versus 4,400. So people aren't we don't tend to get a lot of those reservations until midway through the summer anyway, so. Yeah,
All right, thanks, Bob.
okay.
Any other questions from,
George is back. George, you're on.
Do we get to see him?
Yeah.
We have
Move
enough space?
Move it over. Move your screen over. You'll see him.
Oh, okay. Whoops. Okay. There he is.
Yeah.
Ed, can I ask a quick question? I mean, Mr. Chairman, through you,
absolutely.
Bob, the concession people is, what's, I mean, as Ed said, minute to minute, how do we, what is their situation as far as like, recovery? Are they under some sort of contract with us for a certain amount of money that we have to pay them regardless of whether they're, something? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so their contract does have a minimum guarantee, but that's something that's on the list of us to be looking at because, much like the car rental agency, they're not, the activity is stopped, and in light of the pandemic, whether those conditions will be putting something together for that, for the board meeting as well. We have, for instance, Freedom Cruise that runs out of Harwich. At this point has indicated that he wasn't planning on operating until the earliest would be July 1st. But there is a clause in their contract, as well as with Sea Streaks and all of them except for Island Queen, that if there's a interruption in service for 30 days, that they potentially could lose their license is subject to be renewed or rescinded. Sorry, rescinded.
Yeah, but that's.
I don't, I think I think our recommendation would be that we wouldn't want to be triggering that under the circumstances. With Freedom Cruise, his concern was that, he doesn't want to be bringing people over to the island if the island isn't looking for them and doesn't want them. So.
Well, don't even say that. No, that's right. That clause was put in for, responsive, ability to provide the service, not so much for a pandemic. I don't think anyone thought of that. And then the other thing, Bob, is this fast boat. Are we putting out I know we've removed it from the schedule as far as on the website, but are we sending out any kind of notice that this reservation may be canceled or something? Just, I mean, it isn't a secret. I mean, the whole world knows what's going on. I just figured I'd ask that we're doing something with the fast boat reservations from
We haven't changed any of the language there. Out of the conversation, I had a discussion with Murray Scudder the other day, the end of last week, I guess it is now. And he likewise was not seeing a lot of reservations being made for Memorial Day weekend.
Right.
Which, much like us, he's indicating that, those are the type of weekends that they do fill up. And the other one, everything else is more near term, within a 2-week time period. So Sea Streak, as I mentioned, Sea Streak, their numbers last we had talked with them, they were looking at having only 20 people are reserved for it. So there's so much canceled that you can drink, but you can't have a haircut. So it's quite a experience. I've talked to a bunch of restaurant people in the last week. They're
they're hoping for June takeout month and July 1st for some kind of, 28%, 32% seating, and it's going to take some time. So I think you're on the right track. Appreciate it very much.
And of course, today is the first day of the governor's executive order for masks. We've been trying to get our own employees to be wearing them when they can't socially distance. There are times where they don't need to because of the nature of their work. They can stay, at least 6 feet apart from one another. But it'll be. I didn't hear anything this morning about any issues at the docks in terms of our customers.
Hey, Bob, do you have any cases inside the authority?
Thankfully, none.
Excellent.
Fascinating.
Excellent.
I'll try to find out about some of the people who commute on the boat. I'll find out from them how it's going.
Bob, in your discussion with Murray, I know they started that implementation last week. Did they have any concerns or any problems? I don't know if you talked to them about that when you were speaking with Murray Scudder.
Yeah, so they're in a little different situation because them being a private carrier, they can refuse.
Right.
And that's why when we originally ended up coming out with our policy, they finally came up with that we could offer a reasonable accommodation to people that don't have masks by allowing them to be outside on the weather deck. The situation, of course, is that they have to walk through the interior of the vessels in order to get to there. And then, of course, the other issue is that, when it comes time to disembark, they all rush to get to the area, and it's difficult to control, how people are able, are heading to the exits type thing. So, hopefully as this goes on and becomes more of a norm, people become more understanding that, this is not only for their own benefit, but it's also for the benefit of all the people that they're with. There is, in the executive order, there is a requirement that, there may be some cases for medical reasons that people can't wear masks. And so therefore, we're not even allowed to ask them for their doctor's note or anything like that to say anything. But they would be ones that had to be social distance. So.
Okay.
We had at least an employee who had an issue with wearing a mask because he had a bad experience when he previously had worked in an automotive shop, and the mask wasn't working properly, and he passed out and he had to be resuscitated. So he has a phobia about wearing a mask. We were able to get him a plastic shield, which he's comfortable with. So we try to work with our employees as much as we can.
That's good. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Any other questions on the council?
Okay.
Not here.
I think business summary would be next, so I'll have Mark come over.
Morning, everyone.
Morning, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hello, Mark.
Like your glasses, Nat. Haven't seen you.
I know. I'm trying to get organized here.
Okay, so for the month of March, traffic numbers. Passengers were down 35.5% on the Vineyard route, down 34.6% on the Nantucket route, for a total of an average of 35.4%. Passenger vehicles on the Martha's Vineyard route were down a total of 34%, 25% on the regular cars, and 40% on the excursion vehicles. On the Nantucket route, the regular vehicles were down 9%. The excursions were down 40%, totaling 28%. For the trucks carried on the Martha's Vineyard route, The total trucks were down about 24%, which was across the board, with the biggest percentage being the excursion vehicles under 20 feet were down about 33%. The large trucks were only down 14%. On the Nantucket route, the total trucks were down 20%. Again, the excursion vehicles were the vehicles with the most decrease, and they were down about 31%, while the vehicles 20 feet and over, the freight trucks, were down 13%.
And if I may, all those decreases were starting with the 15th of the month up until the 14th. I think we're up,
We were up,
in
yes.
every category.
Correct. Parking for the month was down 37%, 36% on the Woods Hole parking lots in Falmouth, and 44% in Hyannis and Nantucket. Year to date, passengers carried to Martha's Vineyard are down 8.7%, or 27,000. On the Nantucket run, we're down about 4,000 passengers, or 10%. With these numbers combined, or 9% down for the year, or about 31,000 passengers. Automobiles year to date on the Vineyard route are down 6,300. Yes. Sorry, are down about 6,300, or 10%. These are pretty evenly split percentage-wise between the regular cars and the excursion cars. On the Nantucket route, we're down about 750 cars, or 10%, or 9%, excuse me. Predominantly in the excursion rate, which is down 12.6%, or 680 cars, and the standard cars are down 72 cars, or 2.5%. Trucks carried year to date on the Vineyard route are down 2,000 trucks, or 6.8%. And these are pretty evenly distributed across all categories in the trucks. On the Nantucket route, we're down about 950 trucks, or 8.3%. And predominantly, again, they're equally distributed in the three categories. Year-to-date parking numbers on the Falmouth route, the Vineyard route, excuse me, in the Falmouth parking lots were down just under 900 cars, or 8%. And on the Hyannis and Nantucket parking lots, we're down about 200 cars, or 14%. And I'll be happy to take any questions regarding the traffic statistics. Okay, hearing none. For the month of February, for the month of March, our total operating revenues were, oh, I printed out the wrong sheet. Excuse me one second. Okay, so for the month of March, total operating revenues were $3,952,558, which represents a decrease of about $983,000, or 19.9% versus budget. Passenger revenues were down $400,000 for the month versus budget, which represents a 36.3% decrease. Automobile revenues were down $276,000, or 26.2% versus budget. Freight revenue was down $260,000, or 11% versus budget. And parking revenues for March were down $22,000, or about 20% versus budget. During March, we made a combined 1,307 trips, which is a decrease of 226 trips, or 14.7% versus budget. The Vineyard route, we had 2 trips canceled for mechanical, 18 for weather, 196 for traffic demands. On the Nantucket run, no trips were canceled for mechanical reasons, 8 for weather, and 28 for traffic demands. Total operating expenses for the month were $9,296,785, which were up $93,565, or 1% compared to budget. Maintenance expenses for the month were down $79,000, 2.6% versus budget. This is primarily looking at the Governor was down about $106,000. The Sankaty was up about $70,000. Repairs on the MV Nantucket were up $176,000. The Island Home was up $344,000, but that's a timing issue because last month it was down. And repairs on the Iano were down $179,000, which is also timing. Repairs to buildings and structures were down $411,000 for the month. Vehicle repairs were down $27,000, and repairs to terminal and office equipment were up $20,000. Fuel expense for the month was $224,000. This was down by $169,000, or 43%. The average cost per gallon for March was $1.61 versus the budget of $2.26. For the month, general administration expenses were up $254,000. This was primarily with the pension expense was up, and healthcare expenses were down. That was the main driver, combined of about $184,000 for the month. At the end of the day, for the net operating loss for the month of February, for March, excuse me, we had was $5,500,752, or $1,139,738 higher than the projected net operating loss. And I'd be happy to take any questions on the March statement.
Mark, George, I don't know if you're going to go on further onto things, but I have a question about the overall financial situation. I know I think you've heard from at least one town treasurer trying to get some facts and develop things. But looking at the Enabling Act, it talks about the towns being responsible for any deficiency. But even based on my financial background, deficiency is a very iffy word, and I can't figure out by looking at this what exactly that means. Do you just have a net loss on your income statement? Do you have to spend every single nickel you got in the state in the safe and dig up all the cans out in the backyard? Do the non-payment of loans or taking out of loans count as that? I was just wondering if perhaps you could put together, certainly for us and perhaps for town treasurers, a definition of what this Enabling Act deficiency is, and so they could see how the numbers work out, and then they could follow it, whether or not there's going to be any reach out to the towns for money or not. But I don't know if you've tried this or not, but I just hope you could define a deficiency.
Sure can.
So if I may, yeah, that's an interesting question. We've been, since the letter to the governor, we've been in weekly conversations with the state's Administration and Finance Office. They've been looking at our Enabling Act and the language in the Enabling Act and getting interpretations on that language.
Pretty loose. It's pretty loose.
Yeah, well, and then the fact that it's been 58 years since this has happened. I don't think there's too many people around from the Kennedy administration working up in the State House. So we're working on that, trying to get the definition. The issue that we also have is that accounting standards have changed since the Enabling Act was written back in 1960. Far more complicated in terms of the accounting for it. The Governmental Accounting Standards Board wasn't created until the early 1980s. Since they've been there, there's close to 100 pronouncements on how to treat transactions on a governmental accounting report. The language that used to be, at the bottom line of, net income is now referred to on the new statements as change in net position. So we've had discussions with our auditors regarding whether that's the appropriate, based on the interpretation of the Enabling Act, whether that's the appropriate term because of what would be the trigger. Because in the past, grant revenue just fell under the revenue line, and now it's separated out from operating revenues. And this monies, for instance, that we're getting from the CARES Act, that should offset any deficit trigger. So we're looking at it as being the change in net position as being the official trigger point, and we're just trying to get confirmation of that will be the case going forward. So I think everything's still in flux, and the people up at the State House are trying to get their hands around it. And I know the representatives, Senator Sayers and Representative Fernandez, have been very involved in all this as well, and we appreciate their continued support in trying to move this along. So,
well, if you get to when you get to the point that the definition is cleared up, perhaps if you could send them out to the treasurers of the respective governmental bodies who are interested in this, that would be good communication.
we're hopeful that the interpretation that they take is favorable.
That's actually a good question.
That's what I'm working on.
Yeah.
It seems like timing is a fundamental question. In other words, if you have an emergency situation, which is, theoretically the one that we might find ourselves in right now, that if it requires, first end of year statements or audits or this or that, those kind of things are completely out of sync with, the timing of, cash needs that, at least, 3 weeks ago, we thought we might be in a situation like that. So it seems like timing is something that ultimately has to get rectified, in a regulatory fashion to anticipate this type of problem in the future.
Yeah, so as simple as the reserve fund, the interpretation that we've always used on the reserve fund is at the end of the year, if there's a deficit, that's when that gets triggered. So we're working with A&F, and so just our phone call, what is today, Wednesday? So on Monday, our phone call with them entailed about what the certification process is going to have to be. And, we have the bond counsel is working on a draft of a certification letter. So that way they can run it past the people up at the A&F and as well as the treasurer's office, because the point we're trying to make is that we'll be at some point here, we're going to be at potentially be at a deficit situation well before the end of the year, and can we tap the reserve fund at that point? And granted, there's about $3.5 million in it, but it's $3.5 million that we can't use at the moment. So we want to get that squared away.
One other question that you could help me with is just what your understanding is the reason that the original position taken at the State House was that this was not a state problem, that it was a federal problem. What was the rationale for that position? This was just something I read in the paper, so it's asking as a curiosity.
So the word that we've been getting, is that the state does recognize that we're an agency of the Commonwealth. As to how it was presented by the governor, I'll defer any comment on that. So I think part of it is that we are regulated by the Coast Guard in some regards. So
it's a state authorized authority.
The Office of Administration and Finance has been very supportive through the whole process, working with us on the mechanics on how to make this work.
Correct.
On a longer term basis, not right now probably, but on a longer term basis, I would give some thought to perhaps coming up with a slightly different design in the Enabling Act that would enable us to build up substantially more reserve funds and rainy day funds, so we're in better shape in the long-term future. But again, that's a little bit longer term.
Can I ask one more question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Bob or Mark, whoever has the right answer, or both. Fuel budget versus the cost of fuel. What is your estimate? I know we're running less boats, so we're burning less fuel. But how much money are we going to sort of be able to, create a positive on the, what I'm asking? How is that going to affect us, say, through September? in your eyes?
Well, looking at it, last week we paid, believe it or not, 74 cents a gallon.
Scary, isn't it?
Up to 84 cents. And the projections for December, $1.10 right now, looking at the futures. But if you look at the projections, you're probably looking at 2.5 million. You know, if you say, you know, back in January, paying about $1.84 before all the increments. So say you say $1 on roughly, we've got about 2.5 million gallons left for the year to use. So, you know, conservatively speaking, 2
So
million.
in theory, so, you know, for my simple Bailey graduated math class, that's like getting $2 million a check
That's the savings.
as far as the budget.
Yeah. And
Correct.
that's, yes. And that's based on you running all of the trips that were originally scheduled. That doesn't factor in reduction in service and miles and usage.
So it's going to be more like 1.5 million then, probably. We're going to burn a lot less fuel.
Actually go the other way now.
Oh, okay.
Close to 2.5.
That's just
Oh,
based
good.
on focus. And then the other question, if I may, is that people were asking about hedging last month, and that we're hedged primarily through September of next year. And looking at the pricing, you're looking at about a 50% premium from the prices for the fourth quarter of 2021 compared to what they are now. So you're paying a pretty substantial time value.
Cool.
And to execute the hedges, you're probably looking at about $150,000 right now of cash to purchase them.
That's great. Excellent. Something positive. Can I have one more question? I mean, I don't even know where this fits in. The driver service issue. This is a Nantucket problem. I know you guys are working hard at that, and I just want to, I don't even have a suggestion because you're already working on it. I just know how important this is going to be. Bob, I don't know if we've worked on opening tickets or not, doing the open thing, but we got to, you know, figure something out as this gets closer to, you know, where we could be in a situation where there's no place for somebody to sleep except their car. I'm not sure what's going to happen. We don't really know because everything's spread out. Like there are probably vehicles coming over right now that would be coming over June 20th. So it's sort of like a, you know, we have to watch so many different things, the trends to figure this out. So I certainly appreciate the efforts and just want everyone else to understand that what we're trying to deal with on this side of the pond as far as the driver service issue. Thank you.
Thanks, Nat.
I think Mr. Malkin had his hand up, I think.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Just as a quick question, Chairman Washburn, in the minutes, and as I recall listening to last month's meeting, you said that the Port Council was looking forward to working with the staff to determine financial plans given the multiple scenarios facing the authority. The Board of Governors has asked for the same kind of thing, and I obviously don't want our enterprise burdened with multiple investigations, but it would be great if we could perhaps do something jointly or have a subcommittee with a Port Council member and a member and a couple of people from the authority to work on this, because clearly if I think Bob had indicated in one of our meetings that even at a minimum, we'd be talking about the current level of transportation, the current number of trips. And if that's the case, and we're burning $1 million, $1.5 million a week, that means essentially we got to find $1 million or $1.5 million a week of expenses, or we just keep hoping money's going to fall in our lap, which I don't think we can do. So just as a question, given the conversation that's going on now, the Board of Governors is looking for what the business model would be if things don't recover. You've indicated that this group is as well, and I would hate to have the Steamship Authority running around doing the same thing for two different groups. So if there could be a way to tie this together, that would be helpful. Thank you. And I don't mean to interrupt, but thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks, Jim. Agreed. We don't want, I think the nature of our request to staff was the exact same thing that you guys are thinking. So,
Yeah.
to be clear, Bob, don't do two efforts. I think, and just to reiterate what, where we stood last week or last month, we want to be helpful. We want to understand what the issues that you're facing are. Obviously the cash burn that Jim just talked about is scary, especially in the context of the assessments and understanding all of that. So I think we actually, I had a sort of a list of questions that I had for this meeting, and the Port Council, all of my questions have kind of been brought to the fore, and I think we need to, and I think from the Port Council's perspective, I don't want to speak for everybody, but understanding what we're facing in the future. So there's the known issues, including the assessments, including just the level of service, the expenses, and understanding, in the different revenue scenarios, how we're going to begin to understand that. That's what I think we asked for last month, and to the extent that that's exactly what the board is asking for, I don't think we need to duplicate that effort.
All right.
All right.
Sit on that. Okay.
So I think it's Mark, that's it for the March summary?
Yep, March, yep.
All right, so updates on the current projects.
Okay.
And before we leave that, just picking up on Jim's point about, whether or not there needed to be, a smaller group that would support and provide insight. I think there might be some real merit to that thought. Not to be a burden, but to be additive in terms of analysis and asking the right questions and stuff like that. So I think there might be some reason to consider that.
Yeah, and sorry, Jim, for not picking up on that. So is there already a subcommittee that's been created on the? All right, and you guys are meeting weekly now, correct? So I think, obviously, I think it's up to the governors, but I think we would be happy to have a representative on a subcommittee that begins to tackle this. And if we get that, and so we can, I don't know what the correct process would be. So if a subcommittee is created, we can ask on the Port Council if there's any volunteers. And I think we've done joint subcommittees with the audit, right, Bob?
Correct.
So we have a model that we can borrow from.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect.
Bob, we don't need a vote or anything on that, right?
I think what we've been working on already, we'll put together some of our thoughts in terms of the big driver here is the operating schedule and what that needs to be, and and how that impacts. We do have vessel repairs, dry docks, things like that. Unfortunately, as I've told people at A&F and MassDOT, I don't think we're able to cut our way out of this because there's too many, fixed costs. The only way to avoid that is to say, okay, we're not going to do the dry dock on the Martha's Vineyard, and we're effectively going to shut that boat down. I'm not advocating this, but we'd be, mothballing that vessel for a period of a year or two or something like that. And I just don't see it happening at this point. So we, just like now, we are working on getting some of these other vessels up and running because if we need them, we have to have them ready to go. But as we go along, those will all be considerations that have to be brought brought forward and discussed, so.
Okay, great. So,
Ed,
yep.
unfortunately, I have to log out here. I have another meeting I have to go to, so.
Okay. Thanks,
Everybody
Mark.
have a nice day, and we'll see you
Take
next
care,
time.
Mark.
Thank you.
Mark.
See you later.
Yep.
Take care, Mark.
Bye-bye.
All right. So we'll wait on the formation of that subcommittee, and we're happy to participate.
Thank you.
All right. Current projects, Bob.
Okay, so Bill has a little update here on the Woodsall projects. The only thing that's really going on at the moment is the continuation of the marine portion of it. We haven't been doing anything regarding the terminal building itself. In that regard, it's just been the emphasis has been on the current marine stage. So John's going to share the presentation.
So just to fill you in, since we last met at the Port Council meeting, we lost the pile drivers and the carpenters for 2 weeks in April because their unions called them off the job. We are following the state protocols. We got the pile drivers back a week ago, and we're following the state protocols, and it's limiting because the social distancing is limiting the number of people on the site work area to about 30 people. So we're making progress, but it's not the progress we had made in the past. John? So, okay.
There you go.
So this first picture is the canopy. All the joists are up and a couple of the glass roof sections are in. That's moving along pretty well now. There's a lot of detail work. That main beam, there's a gutter that has to be installed to direct the water to the drains in the columns. There's a lot of wiring and lighting that has all been done. The rough wiring is done and been inspected. Okay, next picture.
I think you're in the presentation.
Yeah, sorry. Hang on one second.
That's not the first slide.
That's probably
Here, start there.
okay. So this picture shows the cedar joists and the brackets used to hold the glass in place. Next picture. First couple of sections of glass. I believe this for every 3 joists, there's 4 sections of glass that are connected with a neoprene. There's going to be a neoprene gasket in between the glass edges. Next. Some of the rough wiring you can see on that main beam. Next. So this is the pile work. Like I said, we lost pile drivers for 2 weeks. So we're trying to catch up. We're doing pretty well. We got 1 crew working out there on the barge, getting them cut to height, capping them. At this point, I think we have 3 more monopiles to cut and fill with concrete. A lot of the welding has been done, so we should be done by the end of next week with the pile caps. Next. Some of the site work has really moved on pretty well because when we lost the carpenters and the pile drivers, it cleared the site for the site work, and Lawrence Lynch has been working really well. They're way ahead, they're actually ahead of schedule with their work. Next. You can see this is the forms for the transfer bridge foundation. And you can see some of the iron workers setting the iron rebar for the bulkhead to the south of that transfer bridge. Next. That big black tank is for the fuel oil system, leak detection system. And that's where all the electrical and water utilities will go before they go out to the utility platform, which is just that aluminum structure just beyond the first monopile there. Next. Just for the farm work for the transfer bridge. That's all done and completed at this point. We're expecting the transfer bridge next week. Next. I'm trouble seeing that.
It's the transfer, it's
the bulkhead.
Bulkhead.
Yeah, this is a bulkhead slip. That finally got done. That work was delayed because of the carpenters, but everything is done at this point. Next. This is an aerial view of the site. You can see there's not a lot of land space, so like you can only put so many people on a platform on the passenger deck to work and still work safely. And the land side is a similar thing. So you're finding about 30 people is on site is the capacity. Next. Yeah, this is the farm work for the concrete mat going to the transfer bridge. So like for the first 10 feet before you reach the bridge, it's all concrete, and that's what they're forming in this case. That's complete at this point. Just another aerial view of the canopy. It's going to be, I think when it's all said and done, it's going to be an impressive structure. Next. Just
Rob,
another.
Is that your yacht?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
That's the Corwith Kramer, which is the Sea Education Association training ship at our dock.
All right. This is just another picture of an aerial view of the transfer bridge, and that concrete. The concrete wasn't poured for that slab at that point of the picture. Next. Just another aerial view of the whole site. Next. That's where we started with. Okay. I'll answer any questions if you have. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
I have a question for, sort of a general question. What are we doing about the ticket office? Are we going to be able to keep the temporary ticket office for another year or so we don't have to have expenses to build a new one?
Yeah, so at this point, we haven't been doing anything regarding the permanent terminal building. That's been put on hold. Regarding the temporary terminal building, the building inspector had originally given us a date of July of this year is when he thinks that the occupancy permit should expire. The application that we submitted had been that and was approved, had indicated that we intended to need the building use it for 4 to 5 years. We didn't start using that building until December of 2017. So, our interpretation is that at the very least it should go to 2021. So we'll have to sit down with the state building inspector and clear that matter up. But with everything going on with COVID, we haven't done so. But we'll have to initiate something here before too much longer to make that case.
Yeah, but I think we should try to get it beyond 20 and 21 at this point.
Hey, Bob, I saw Bill sort of snuck out there, but I was a little unclear about the impact of the pile drivers being out and the carpenters being out, and just to what extent that's impacted the schedule and what that means for completing that work.
Okay, so
I'll let
I'll
Bob
handle that. We sat down with Bill yesterday about this. So the middle of May date that we originally were targeting has gone out the window because of this. Last year, you may recall, we ended up having the North Slip available for Memorial Day weekend, and then after it for a couple of weeks, it was not available. We're not, at this point, we're not anticipating having a need to have to use that slip, at least until the middle of June. The schedule, I think, calls for it to be like about the second week of June now for everything to be wrapped up in terms of fully operational.
Okay, understand that. Were those force majeure type of claims made?
That was the discussion that we're having with them, because they haven't actually submitted anything in writing to us, but under the circumstances, it's, it was documented in terms of at the time that, they forwarded us the correspondence that they had received from the unions regarding in response to the COVID pandemic. So they just didn't formally indicate it, and I think Bill's had some conversations with them since.
Yeah, they've had some initially that people recognized that it was a force majeure, but we haven't gotten anything in writing from them. I think they're acting along those lines, but there's nothing formal at this point.
Okay. I mean, typically there'd be a period of notice of a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever, for an official notice like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is what it is, but I'm just pointing out that I'm assuming if you go into the depths of your contract, there's probably a notice period for force majeure claims.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, I think the next one is about vessel repairs, and so we'll, Mark is in here, so he'll pick up.
Good morning, Sean. I wonder if you could put that up on the screen. Okay, currently in dry dock, we have the Nantucket at Thames Shipyard. The vessel is, the underwater aspects of the project are now complete. We're just waiting for the bow and stern freight doors, which have gone under considerable overhaul, including blasting and steel renewal and coating and hydraulic overhauls. And the current plan is they're placing the doors back on today and tomorrow, and we're going to float it on Saturday to the quay. The critical path of the project is the completion of the overhaul of the auxiliary generator prime movers, which is scheduled to complete on the 22nd of May. Next screen, Sean. You just see we did extensive blasting and coating on the superstructure, as well as the underwater hull area for preservations. Next screen. These are the things we've totally redone the bow and stern doors. This will give us a good 5 years of extensive operation and new gasket materials, and we're ahead of where that picture is. They're assembled, they're actually being lifted into place. Next screen. For the stern area, all the inodes are installed, propellers, we're ready to float on the underwater side. Next screen. Kind of a cost analysis where we are to date for the contract items. We have a total of 1.292 million with 506,000 in credits of items we did not use there. Those were used down in the change order areas. I've kind of lumped all the different Areas, for instance, like for instance, the change orders 2, 3, 4, and 5 are in blasting, painting, and underwater areas, superstructure areas. 8, 9, 13, 14 are alternator cleaning, propeller NDTs, etc. Just try to put it into areas which make sense. So the total change orders to date are 603,191. That is not complete. We anticipate more. Our intention is with transiting to the quality management system, which is part of it is updating our planned maintenance. So it's going to be, we're going to see an uptick in maintenance costs over the next year or two, specifically in the dry docks, to get a better product out and a more reliability to the vessels in their operation. So that's where we stand right now, the Nantucket, with the transit back to Fairhaven due on the 22nd of May. There'll be a short cleanup period and she'll be ready for service in the second week of June. Any questions?
Looks like a good plan.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome.
All right. Oak Bluff Piers.
Yeah, so regarding Oak Bluff Pier, sure. They recall, once we got an engineering firm out there to do a survey, they determined that there was 35 pilings that were severely wasted, that needed to be replaced, along with some pile caps that need to be redone. They put together a bid package, which we put out on the street. We started hearing from some of the vendors about it, and there's concern about being able to make the June 22nd deadline that had been there. We were hopeful for June 15th, but they're saying that even the June 22nd date would be problematic. So we went back and looked at the work, and the engineer has come up with what the minimum number of pilings and pile caps that would need to be replaced in order to make that pier operational for cars and pickup trucks. I believe it's 13. 13 of which need to be done, and the amount of pile cap is about 24 feet out of the pile caps need to be replaced. So we put an addendum out yesterday, letting the companies know that this new plan was coming. This was being sent out this morning. We've delayed the bid opening until Monday with this revised plan to just make it so that way the facility itself is operational for cars and pickup trucks. So the board will be voting on this on Tuesday.
I believe we, that was one of the things we talked about in that meeting we had last month, Jim. Making it so that we could have passengers, cars, and pickups, and to get it going. So let's hope we can get this thing moving and get it done as quickly as possible.
That's where we're at on that.
Yep.
Any other questions on Oak Bluffs pier repairs? All right. The cost analysis.
In your diligent package, we added the 2019 analysis of the rates versus the cost of service. I know whether
Did you email it?
no, I just did it to diligent. Sorry. I did email it. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm losing track of what I'm doing. So this is the the annual review that we go through and look at what the costs are to run all the service for each island. And this goes back to Mr. Flathers from years ago, who advocated that the one route was supporting the other route. And we've since addressed that issue. And then this is also to see, in terms of, whether any portion of our service is subsidizing the other portions of the services. So just kind of going through this quickly for on the Vineyard route. And we've been doing this now. This is the same methodologies we've done for the past 16 years. On the Vineyard route, the cost of vessel operations decreased by $398,000 or 1.3% versus a year ago, versus 2018. There was decreases in dry docks on that route, particular because of the decreases associated with the dry docks for the Katamer and the Island Home compared to 2018. That was the most significant thing there. We did have an increase in fuel costs during 2019 versus 2018, but that was offset. The indirect non-vessel cost on the Vineyard route increased by $1,241,000 or 4% versus 2018. And that's primarily how we allocate the maintenance costs, but also some of the depreciation hits that as well. So overall on the Vineyard route, the cost of service increased by $843,000 or 1.4% versus 2018. We did run 59 more trips in 2019 versus 2018. And with the mix of the vessels that were on that route, we ended up with 16,920 more car equivalent spaces. The spaces occupied, meanwhile, went up by 895 spaces, or 0.1% versus 2018. So our occupancy rate for the Vineyard route ends up being 78.9%. And that's a slight decrease versus the 80.5% that we had in 2018. So in terms of this, we never should get to 100% because this is over the course of the entire year, and there's trips that are run that are deadheads to get back into position, things like that. So the fact that we're up around 80%. That's really around the target that we're looking for. The estimated cost of a car equivalent space, meanwhile, ended up being $67.54. And that's an increase of 2.1% versus the prior year, which was $66.18. So on average, the automobiles on the Vineyard route covered 79.7% of their cost of service, while the trucks on the Vineyard route covered 94.2% of the cost of service. Excursion automobiles, meanwhile, covered 29.2% and 42.3% between cars and trucks. So the island excursion rate, about 30%. They're covering about 30% of the cost of that space, that service. So, on the Nantucket route, the cost of vessel operations increased by $2,897,000, a big increase, 16.7%. In this case, we ended up having dry dock expenses for the Gay Head and the Woods Hole, which the Gay Head was totally allocated to that run, and the Woods Hole, because it ran more on the Nantucket run this past year, those expenses got allocated more to the Nantucket route. We also had the $1 million in engine repairs for the MV INO, and the fuel cost had gone up. Our indirect non-vessel cost went up by $1,923,000 or 13.3%. And that reflects some increases in terminal repairs, but it also reflects the benefit costs that we have, the insurance, depreciation was a big part of this. Again, the Woods Hole being on that route more than the prior year, and also those vessel charters that we had to schedule last year. So overall, the cost of service on the Nantucket route increased by $4,820,000, or 15.1% versus 2018. We did run 162 more trips on the route, but the spaces available increased by 7,060, and the occupancy increased by 1,586. So we ended up with a 82.8% occupancy on the Nantucket route versus the 85.2% from a year ago. The cost of a car equivalent space ends up being $155.97, so just under $156. It was $131 in 2018. So on average, the automobiles covered 104.3% of the cost of service, with full fare autos covering 136.3%, and the excursions covering 34.5%. The trucks on the Nantucket run covered 83.4% of the cost of service. And excursion trucks, the one space trucks, covered 42.7%. So, we do this every year to look to see what's going on. There's different philosophies that have been, over the years that have, on how best to allocate any rate adjustments that we have. On the Vineyard route, it's the trucks are covering more of their cost of service than on the Nantucket route. But it's the seasonal traffic on the Nantucket route that's covering it more. So we look at this one as we're doing the budget in case there's any rate adjustments that need to be considered and how best to allocate those. So at this point, there's no vote or anything that needs to, this is for information. The binder is in process of being prepared for everyone's library, Insomnia Cure. So we'll be getting those out in the next couple of weeks. So if anyone has any questions, I'm sure Mark will be happy to answer them.
The empty chair.
Hey, Bob, this is Rod. This is very helpful information. It always is. It's fascinating. How big of a lift is it to put this together each year? Just out of curiosity.
Mark's staff did most of it, almost all of it, this year. In the past, I was out, myself or Mark being involved, but we did a little bit more delegation than we have, and that's why we'll get all the graphs and data put together. And I should point out too that this is preliminary. We're still waiting on the auditors to sign off on the financial statements. So this might be there might be some revisions to this. I know they're looking at the pension obligation that's on the book, so that may end up changing these numbers slightly.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions on the cost analysis? Jim?
You're muted.
Jim?
You're muted, yeah.
Thank you. Sorry to bump in again, but when will we see the audit, or when will we see as much of the audit as has been completed?
I think the target is to get it done as soon as possible. I think they just got the actuaries' revised report came in the end of last week or beginning of this week.
It came in last week and it was wrong, and they revised it, and we're reviewing it right now. So that's one item open, and then there's a couple items on the single audit that are open for support details. Looking for the end of the month to have it completed, is from what I've been told from the RSM.
The end of May. It was supposed to be done by April 1, correct?
Yes, correct.
All right, I'll bring this up at our next board meeting, but if nothing else, can we get a screenshot of where they are and that without regard to the open items?
Yep, I'll send you an open item list today.
So in regards to that April 1st date, that date is in the Enabling Acts from 1960, and the accounting standards have changed. We've had discussions with our auditors regarding that, and yes, we've been able to make that date just barely. But
okay, but I'm sorry, Bob, but the reason I'm asking is we're asking the Port Council and the governors to look at a new business model. And I don't understand how we're going to be able to do anything unless we have complete and audited results to work from. I mean, maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah, so, what transpired last year in terms of what model we're looking at here, I mean, it does affect whether any rate structure that we need to be doing, but, we always take it from 1 year to, what's level of service do we need from 1 year to the next, or one time period to the next. So I understand the importance of getting this done, and, and Mark and the team are working on it, so.
All right. Old or new business? Anything from council members? Or
Nothing here.
on the line?
No.
Nope, all set.
All right. So items not reasonably anticipated. I don't think there's anything there. Is there anybody from the public, Sean, that wants to speak?
If anyone who's on the line wants to speak, you can raise your hand or hit, what is it? 9-star.
Star.
Your keypad. There's only about 12 attendees. A lot of them are staff members. I don't see anything.
Okay. So hearing nothing else, do I have a motion?
Ed, sorry, one person did just raise their hand.
Okay.
Question.
Hi, my name is John Cogliano. I'm one of the new owners of the Plymouth and Brockton Bus Company. And I was wondering, we have a proposal in regarding providing new bus service from Woods Hole to TF Green and Logan Airport. So I wanted to know if this is the proper time to talk about it, or will be sometime in the near future.
So I'm sure if you connect with Bob, if it's appropriate to put it on the agenda separately, but if you just want to quickly go through what the outline schedule is and that kind of thing, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, I have submitted something to the Steamship Authority, and I just want to make sure, as the world comes back online, and, I'm very pleased to hear the report this morning that the reservations are increasing. So with that, we know that people are going to start traveling again. So it'd be great to have more than just one bus company providing service, whether it to be Boston and Logan Airport. And our new service that we actually started from Hyannis to TF Green will be we're eager about it because we think it's going to be very successful, because I think it's something that's been maybe 2 or 3 decades in the waiting. My background is I'm actually the former Secretary of Transportation for Massachusetts. So I see the need for, one, not only providing new transportation services, but providing options to the public and to the passengers that actually ride the Steamship Authority vessels. So I look forward to addressing that. If there are any questions or whatever I need to do to get that service in place, we're very excited about doing it.
Great. Bob, do you have any response to that from the staff level?
Yeah, so again, this was brought up at the March board meeting, I believe.
It feels like 2 years ago.
Yeah. And at that point, I think Ms. Wilson had a concern. She wanted to know what the town's position was regarding this service. And I know that you've since gone to EDIC for the depot there, but I haven't. I apologize. I haven't had a chance to follow up with them to find out what their recommendation was regarding the service there to the depot.
I can actually answer that, Bob. I'm actually in discussion with the Falmouth EDIC staff. The board has empowered the executive director to resolve and actually create a license agreement with us. I expect to have a draft from them this week, and I got that in an email as the past few days. They confirmed that they would have a draft agreement for me this week.
So I think our next full board meeting was going to be on the 16th, I believe. 19th, sorry. So that'd be if we're going to have everything together prior to that to have it on the agenda for the 19th. I see Kate has her hand up.
As far as I recall, we don't have any licensing agreement with the current bus company. Is that right? And so my concern was, if we're just going to toss it all in and make a stew, that's one thing. But if we want it to be planned at all, it makes sense to evaluate what we've got going on with Bonanza, what we've got going on with this new proposal, where we're going to fit all the buses. We already have traffic issues at the Woods Hole terminal. And so I'd like to, address it in a reasonable way.
So Bob, if you can come up with a recommendation from staff that we can react to, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for your comment. Anybody else, Sean?
No, that was all.
Okay, move to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Balco?
Balco, aye.
Huss, aye.
Nat?
Lowell, aye. Sorry.
Rob?
Near, aye.
Eric?
Shufelt, aye.
And Ed Washburn, aye. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Everybody be safe.
Yep.
See you soon.
Thank you, Bob.